This one took long enough for me to do, but we are finally here. Quick guide for everyone who wants to build or play with Yinlin. Let's roll. Basic attack is super basic, good AoE, good range, but the only utility here is to mark enemies. More information on marks later. Skill has 2 casts and is one of the main sources of damage for Yinlin. The first cast deals AoE damage and empowers your basic attack for 10 seconds. The second cast also deals AoE damage and gives extra damage to marked enemies. You won't lose your empowered basic attack if you swap Yinlin out of the field, but you will lose your second cast, so don't forget to use your second cast. Now we're going to talk about the Liberation, because we all know you've been waiting for this. Deals AoE damage around the enemy and has a really good AoE. It is also going to mark every enemy on hit. Now for the fourth circuit, or passive as I like to call. Basic attack, intro and Liberation will leave a Sinner's mark on enemies. The mark is removed if Yinlin leaves the field. If you have a full judgment bar, then your next heavy attack is going to be replaced by Chameleon Cypher, which is a huge AoE attack centered on Yinlin. Enemies hit by Chameleon Cypher will have the Sinner's mark upgraded to Punishment mark. If the enemy has no mark before the Chameleon Cypher, it means they won't get the Punishment mark. This Punishment mark is not removed when you swap Yinlin out of the field. All enemies with the Punishment mark will take an electro hit whenever an enemy with Punishment mark takes damage. Chameleon Cypher is the only way to get Punishment marks, so every other mark that I said is a Sinner's mark. Now for the intro, it's basic intro, deals damage, generates judgment points, and is going to mark enemies. Now the outro, it gives Electro and Liberation Deepen buff for the next character that takes the field. If you're playing QUICKSWAP, then you're probably not going to use that buff, so you don't need to play Electro characters with Yinlin. You can play anything as long as it's more of a burst DPS. When leveling her skills, you should focus first on the fourth circuit, skill and Liberation, and finally you're going to focus on your basic attack and intro skill. Your top priority when playing Yinlin is to apply the punishment mark as soon as possible and try to keep it 100% uptime on enemies. As for the quick swap, basically you want to switch on longer animations. To be more specific, you're going to switch on skill 2, on basic attack 4, and on Chameleon Cypher. You can swap as soon as any of these animations starts, so use your cooldowns, deal a lot of damage, and then switch. Now for the combo, keep in mind that it's hard to achieve a perfect rotation every single time. You start with the intro, go for skill 1, skill 2, then you switch cancel on your skill 2. When you come back to Yinlin, you're going to start with a basic attack, so go for a full basic attack combo, and when you start the basic attack 4, you are going to switch cancel. When you come back for Yinlin, use a Liberation so you can mark every enemy on the field, or at least most of them, and finally finish with Chameleon Cypher. You can hold your attack button while you are in the Liberation animation, so you can start the Chameleon Cypher as soon as the animation finishes up. Once again, when starting the Chameleon Cypher, you want to switch cancel for your second DPS. If you want to fit an echo cancel on this combo, then you can use on the beginning of the combo before the intro or after you finish your combo. Just don't forget to use your echo, because echo can deal a good amount of damage, and also some of them is going to buff or provide utility for your team. If you're playing the Tower of Adversity, you are not going to have intro in the beginning of the tower. You should start with your Liberation, then go for skill 1, skill 2. Once again, you switch cancel on skill 2, and when you come back to Yinlin, instead of going for a full basic attack rotation, you do a double heavy attack, and then you can go for Chameleon Cypher, and once again switch cancel on Chameleon Cypher. For the echoes, you have 2 options. The first one is Void Thunder, really straightforward, lots of electro DPS increase, and if you're going for this set, you want to use the Tempest Mephis as your main echo. The second choice is Moonlit Clouds. You will deal less damage if you use Moonlit Clouds, because it is not going to give you electro DPS, but it's going to help you with energy regen, and is also going to increase your second DPS output. If you're going for Moonlit Clouds, your best echo here is going to be Impermanence Harrow. For the build, you want to focus on a 4-3-3-1-1 build. 4-4-1-1-1 is almost never worth it, except if you're building a character and can't find a good cost 3. For the 4 cost, you should go for crit rate or crit damage. For the 3 cost, you should go for electro damage. But if you don't have a good electro damage echo, you can go for attack and maybe energy regen. 1 cost is going to be attack, no other good option here. And for the substats, you should look for crit rate, crit damage, attack, skill damage, liberation damage, and some energy regen as well. You want around 25% energy regen so you can keep your liberation ready for every combo you do. For the weapons, the signature weapon is the best. There's no question here. It's going to give you crit rate, extra damage, and also additional attack when you use a skill and also when you are off field. Thanks to all of this, the weapon is also really good on Encore, and maybe future characters can use this weapon as well. But if you're not planning to get her signature weapon, then both Cosmic Rifles or the Battle Pass weapon are really good options. If you are completely free to play, then go for Jinjo Keeper. But if you still don't have Jinjo Keeper, then you need to rely on Rectifier 25. It is not a good weapon, but works as a placeholder until you get a better one. As for the team compositions, you can play pretty much any burst DPS character as long as you play on a quick swap play style. This means that for now, on the 1.0, the best characters to pair with Yinlin are Calcharo, Havoc Rover, and Encore. Calcharo is really hard to play, but if you master it, then it's easily one of the best teams in the game. For the last slot, you're going to look for a support. Usually it's going to be a healer. For now in the game, the only two options is Verena and Paiti, but it can also be Yuanwu if you have her sequence 4, because Yuanwu can increase your overall DPS, and sequence 4 will give a shield for your team. And that's pretty much everything. I really hope this guide helped you. If you have any questions, feel free to drop a comment down below. And if you're looking for more gacha content, mainly Wuthering Waves and Star Rail for now, be sure to subscribe as well. As always, thanks for watching and have a beautiful day.